Hello all the students. So today again there is another video that is on what is the fate of intraembryonic mesoderm. What happens to that? Maximum structures are formed from the mesoderm. So how are those formed? Just a basic introduction because the details will be dealt with when we will be dealing topic wise with them. Okay, so no further wasting of time. We have done this much, that is, this is the endoderm, this is the ectoderm, intraembryonic mesoderm, notochord. Above the notochord, because of the thickening of the ectoderm, we have the formation of a neural tube. Few cells got separated from the neural tube and they have formed the neural crest cells, right? Now what happens in the intraembryonic mesoderm? It splits into various parts, right? So the part that is just lateral to the central axis will form, we call it as paraxial mesoderm. The part just lateral to the axis, we call it as paraxial mesoderm. It is just lateral to the axis, so paraxial intraembryonic mesoderm. This is the part of the mesoderm that will be forming the maximum elements of the skeletal system. So it will form what? Somites. And from the somites, there will be the formation of the bone, the cartilage, the muscles. So maximum of the skeletal system will be formed from the paraxial mesoderm. So it extends throughout the body up till the limbs, right? Next to it, there is the intermediate mesoderm. So this is the intermediate mesoderm, intermediate intraembryonic mesoderm that in future will be forming the urinary and the genital systems. Urinary and the genital systems. Then laterally we have the lateral plate mesoderm. So this entire part is the lateral plate mesoderm. So the mesoderm is split into three parts: the paraxial, the intermediate, and the lateral plate. So what are the changes that will occur in this lateral plate mesoderm? In the lateral plate mesoderm, few cavities will be formed, and those few cavities then will coalesce to form the bigger cavity. So this is the bigger cavity that has formed now, right? So this is the bigger cavity that has formed now. Now this is called, the cavity that has formed is known as intraembryonic coelom. Coelom means cavity, right? So we will say small cavities appear in the lateral plate mesoderm which coalesce to form a bigger one, that is known as the intraembryonic coelom. Now because of the appearance of this cavity, this lateral plate mesoderm gets split into two. The part above it, we call it as the somatopleuric intraembryonic mesoderm. The part below is called the splanchno-pleuric intraembryonic mesoderm. The above one is called somatopleuric or the parietal mesoderm. So this is called somatopleuric or parietal intraembryonic mesoderm. You have to repeat this intraembryonic mesoderm everywhere because we have to write at this point intraembryonic and extraembryonic. So here we are talking about intraembryonic, so it should be very clear. This one is the splanchno-pleuric or the visceral intraembryonic mesoderm, right? What happens to them? From this coelom, three cavities appear: pleural, pericardial, and peritoneal cavities. Pleural, pericardial, and peritoneal cavities. From this splanchno-pleuric mesoderm, there amongst all the other structures, there develops the heart tube. The heart tube, and we call this area the cardiogenic area. Cardiogenic area. So the heart tube from which the future heart develops, it develops in this splanchno-pleuric mesoderm. And then we can see this the coelom has not extended into this part. So this is a horseshoe shaped structure. Now this part where the coelom has not extended and the somatopleuric and splanchnopluric are in continuity with each other, this forms the septum transversum. Septum transversum that will form the future the parts of liver and the diaphragm, which is basically separating the thorax from the abdominal cavity. So I hope the structures are clear. From the paraxial somites, the intermediate mesoderm, urinary and the genital systems. Lateral plate mesoderm will split into somatopleuric and the splanchnopluric by this cavity that is known as intraembryonic coelom. Now, the splanchnopluric will form a heart tube or the cardiogenic area, and this part of the cavity where the coelom has not extended will form the septum transversum that will form the future diaphragm. Now again, always we show all the structures in the embryonic disc. So we have the procaudal plate, we have the primitive streak, the cloacal membrane. From the cranial end of the primitive streak, now there is a notochord beneath it, but at this step now we have the formation of neural tube also. So this is a neural tube. This neural tube, as I told you, it has a cranial end that is expanded to form the brain and a tubular end that will form the future spinal cord. Now we are talking about the intraembryonic mesoderm. In the intraembryonic mesoderm, there will appear the coelom. So this is the cavity. The coelom has appeared. So rest all is the mesoderm. This is the cavity. Rest all, here we have the mesoderm. Right? Then there is a paraxial mesoderm from which there will be the formation of the somites that will form the skeletal system. From the intermediate one, we'll have the urinary and the genital system. So these are the somites. And then there is a lateral plate. So this will form the coelom, the intraembryonic coelom. Above it, we have the somatopleuric layer. Below it, we have the splanchnopluric layer. Splanchnopluric layer. So as I told you, which cavity will form here? It will be the future pericardial cavity. So the pericardial cavity will form here. Right? In the splanchnopluric layer, mesoderm, there will be the formation of the heart tube. So we have a heart tube forming here, the splanchnopluric mesoderm, also known as the cardiogenic area. And in this area, where the coelom did not extend and both the mesoderms are in contact, in this embryonic disc, it will be this area. So this forms the septum transversum. Septum transversum, right? So I draw the diagrams there on in the video so that you can replicate these diagrams, okay? So it will be best if you just, instead of viewing the video, take out your notebooks, draw them with me. It will be easier for you to learn, to grasp, to understand, and to draw them in your exams. So this is how you show the intraembryonic mesoderm, and this is how you show the intraembryonic mesoderm in the embryonic disc and the formation of all these structures. Thank you. If you like my video, kindly press the like icon and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.